Welcome back. It is Daybreak Africa. Those were our packages today on the show. We do hope that you listened and you followed. Now it's time for our discussion for the day, and I'm happy to let you know that our guest is already in the house. From the discussion we had with Ezekiel, you by now guessed, if you started the show with us, the direction at which this is going to go. Now, in Nigeria, should I say our history has been marked with fuel price increase in the 80s and of course in the 90s during the military regime. That has continued up till now. Coming forward to our present situation, the announcement came suddenly, but not surprisingly, NANS has declared or is proposing a nationwide protest because of fuel hike that has caused so much hardship to Nigerians. If we are correct, 15th September is the day that has been chosen for the protest to begin, and the National Association is calling out all students in all cities of the nation to come out and be part of the demonstration, or the peaceful, let me correct myself, demonstration to actually press forward this to government. To discuss that today, we shall be taking a look at petrol high protests or the proposed NANS nationwide strike matters arising. We have a guest to help us understand some of this. He is Dr. Yemi Olugbamigbe. Is a scholar as well as a social analyst, is a teacher in the Department of English at the Yemi Federal University of Education here in Ondo, is a scholar in African literature, literary theories and criticism. He obtained his first degree from the Obafemi Awolowo University in first class honors, then his master's degree and PhD from the University of Ibadan. It's so nice to have you on Daybreak Africa once again.
Thank you. Good morning.
So the matters are much, but the bottom line is Nigerians are the receiving end of the situation. Price hike, petrol scarcity, petrol hike is so much. But before we begin, I would want us to take a look at NANS, that body as one who is in the system, who better to let us understand and feel the pulse of that association. So before we delve into the reason why we're here and the proposed strike or protest that you're calling for, let us understand this body from your own point.
Thank you. The National Association of Nigerian Students, NANS, is a body of all students, all undergraduates, because I don't think they accommodate secondary and elementary school students. Before the political independence, Nigerian students had been in the practice of agitating for better governance, self-determination, independence, and whatever will make life meaningful to the generality of Nigerians. Even then, when they were not as many as they are today, and when they were not as maybe they were not as bad, their system was not as bad as it is today in terms of livelihood. They came together then to fight for independence, to fight for so many other things. After independence, more Nigerians gained admissions into the universities, and so we had more Nigerians becoming members of NANS. I think the greatest or the biggest agitation I knew about was the Alimon Go in those days, when which was led by Comrade Shegun Okeowo, among some other people. He was then the president of the SUG of the University of Ibadan. and that was in 1977 or so. Incidentally, Okeowo came from Ogun State, same area with the then head of state, General Olusegun Obasanjo. I think Okeowo is from Ijebu, Obasanjo is from Egba. And then I think we had some fatalities, some students died. And as we have in history, most of the agitations of NANS, as good as they had been, had not yielded the required results, except that people like Chief Obafemi or Ezekiel and the other ones, his contemporaries fought for independence, which we got, and got on a platter of gold. Ever since then, when it came to self-determination, NANS had not been able to achieve what they desired in terms of all these agitations. But we still have to say they achieved some they never did. Why? You know, when we have a nation as big as Nigeria, with the population, with the diversity and all those things, there is a likelihood that there will be loopholes, there will be cracks. So it has not been easy for Nigerian students coming together as one front. In the past, they had what looked like a common front. But ever since the coming of this political dispensation, this 1999 to this period, you discover that students have fallen along political divides, partisan political divides, where those who are in Edo, we follow the ruling party in Edo, which is the PDP. Those in Ondo, we follow APC. Though they come together at the national level, but I want to believe that there are colorations. So we don't have a single front of the NANS.
Right now.
So now, we now have zones. Some people call themselves NANS, Zone D, Zone A, Zone this and that. Within that Zone D, you still have fractions and factions.
Even before Ezekiel comes in, I just want to buttress what you said, because even the proposed protest also is being organized by a faction. That's the information we got, though not investigated, that there's just a faction of NANS that is calling out. Again, another faction will say, we know nothing about it. We didn't say anything about it. We wake up the next morning, another faction is saying, September 15th is a reality, you know. So we have that divide, like you rightly pointed out, that about the organization so far. So I know Ezekiel has some questions
I'm actually
already.
curious as to some of the key demands of NANS. What are some of these key demands from NANS, and how best do you think the government could address these demands? Because I know with this government, it's not just about demanding, we have to address it. And how best do you think they could address these demands?
I think the key word that encapsulates all the demands is good governance. Good governance. You see, when you talk about people are receiving the backlashes of bad governance in Nigeria, the students are the greatest, the most affected when it comes to things like that. This is a body that does not earn any salary. In the days of the people who are ruling now, they had free meals or subsidized meals and things like that. Those ones don't happen now. Students have to depend on their poor parents. And if you look at the population of students that we have in Nigeria, I can say categorically that I've been teaching for more than 3 decades now in Nigeria. If I looked at those days, I was still doing what we call the petty teaching. I did auxiliary teaching and things like that. That's even about 40 years ago that I started teaching. So I've taught at all the levels, primary, secondary, tertiary. I even taught postgraduate. I have come to realize that we have over 80% of Nigerian students in the lower rungs of things. You know, in the 80s, Obey sang, Ebenezer Obey, one of the Nigeria's popular juju musicians, sang Formula 010 or 101, as the case may be, that students were eating either once or twice in a day instead of the 3 square meals that we recognize in Nigeria. In some other African countries, people eat 4 or 5 times. There is nothing called 3 square meals in places like Abidjan and some other places. But in Nigeria, we say 3. So Obey said Nigerian students could hardly eat twice, giving them 101 or 010, as the case may be. So more than 80% of Nigerian students come from the poor background. So they are the most affected by this act of poor governance in Nigeria. So what they are looking for, apart from, you were talking about the rise in fuel pump price. When it happens, it has chain effects. Transportation goes up, food prices go up, all the social amenities, everything. No, the prices go up. And the students depend on all of these things to survive. A student that want to eat a loaf of bread, this time last year, I think was around 200, 250, the average size. Now, it is going for 1,000 plus, even when you are buying directly from the bakery. And this is about the most ready-made food for Nigerian students. Some of them can eat bread 3 times a day. Buy one, cut into 3. Eat without water, without margarine, without anything. Some with granules and things like that. But the prices of all these things have gone up. So the students cannot afford them. Look at educational materials. Since the days of the immediate past government in Nigeria, the prices of exercise books and textbooks, printing, all those things have gone up by over 500%. And the students have to buy. To photocopy a leaflet, maybe which was 5 naira, 5 kobo, or all those things, now you have to spend as much as 50 naira, 100 naira to photocopy one leaflet,
just
a
one
page.
leaflet by 100
Yes.
naira.
And so if now you want to photocopy 100, and this money is not forthcoming, so the students will have to protest. Just now, it is not protesting for Nigeria, protesting for themselves. In the first instance, they earn no salaries, they have no means, no income, nothing, and they still have to keep on spending more than is necessary. So that is, so they go back to the good governance that they talk about has to do with the policies of government, policies that affect their education. In a situation where a University of Benin, for instance, is paying about 320 million a month for power supply to the university.
Akoka 180 million.
Now, Uniben 320, and the VC said there was no way she would generate such an amount. So students will have to be billed separately from their school fees. So the students will pay. And when you don't have electricity, the student can hardly do anything. So all these things, these are policies. You are talking about exchange rate, just fixing the exchange rate without considering the impacts on the students and things
other
like
people.
that. So many things. So bad governance, this fuel price hike, and so many other things. So the students have a lot to protest against.
Now, stop talking about the request by NANS. 2 things point out. Immediate reversal of fuel pump price.
That's one.
And removal of carry from NNPC of affairs. I will want your reaction on that, because I had to start by letting you tell Nigerians who or what the group stands for. The association is. We're talking about our children, Nigerians, not foreigners. All right? And we've rightly identify the fact that once upon a time, especially during the Alimo school era, we lost a lot of them. Yes. The protests went out of hand. Again, Ezekiel asked a question, the reaction of government. the bad governance and bad governance protest was supposed to be peaceful. We all know how it all ended. We have the history with NANS where it was supposed to be peaceful. We lost a lot of our children. Again, they're coming up to propose. They've given a date like they did with bad governance. We are yet, is how many days? We are yet to get any response for me from government or those in authority who would really address this for Nigerians and the rest of the world to see that this is what you're doing to ensure that the 15th of September does not happen. Now they're asking for reversal of fuel pump price. Is that possible? They're asking for the removal of Kerry. We've seen worse and Kerry is still there. So I want your take on this too, if our children are watching so they can actually understand what's at stake.
Just like we said at the beginning of this program, many of the agitations of Nigerian students may not achieve the desired results. Some of these protests are even dead on arrival. Because of planning, because of the size of the nation, and because of the
based on the request,
yes,
is just dead on arrival. We need to say the way we feel, and if you feel so, we want you to let our people know.
I am actually not aware if Mr. President is in the country now. Since they gave this ultimatum, I think he's been on some foreign tours. Like twice now. I think the last one I heard, he traveled to China. And this is a democracy where the organs don't work as expected. In a civil climate, when students demand things like this, several organs would have been telling the president, the security agencies, the legislative, everybody, parents, advisors, Mr. President, let's call these ones, let's dialogue, let's do that, things like that. That's not happening at the moment. So they have left the students to keep on planning their own warfare. And incidentally, our security agencies will also be planning on how to deal with them, as if what they are doing is illegal. It is not. So they have the right to call for this. The effect of this fuel hike policy is too severe on the Nigerian students. And if you see the number of people that vote in this country, students take a very large number.
Yes.
So these were the people that said, we love this man. He did well in Lagos. He did well in so places. Let's vote him in. So if they now say that his policies are affecting them adversely, they have the right to say, no, you don't do this. The president does not have any power of his own to go into that office of presidency. It is the people's vote. And these people who vote, at least he told them he would do this, he would do that. But he didn't tell them that he was coming here to make them suffer in the first instance. So now if suffering is coming, they have the right to say no. Mele Kyari, to me personally, sincerely, I think he's about the worst public officer that we have in Nigeria. He's been doing things as if he had all the personal powers, that he derives his powers from himself and not from the people of Nigeria, not from the president. Now, the silence of president over some of these things is also ominous. Looks as if we enjoy what you are doing. Keep on doing it for us. So I want to say my position is that the students have the right to protest. But what's going to be the end results? In all the previous protests, there had been fatalities, avoidable fatalities. Nobody goes out to protest and start destroying things except for those people who were not students, the one we saw in Kano of recent, in this end bad governance in Nigeria protest. Students, when they protest, they will sing. They will, if they meet you, like a fella will say, Yabis, they will abuse you. They will sing songs that you will feel bad. They do it even on their campuses. They abuse their lecturers, they abuse their management, things like that. So it is expected that if government is not doing well, they will sing their abuse, like they will sing your praise if you are doing well. But in a situation where you want to do all those things, and it looks like you are flogging a dead horse, worse, a rock, you are just striking a horse. It is your whip.
Oh, get broken.
And if you are not
splinters, we'll get into it.
You also have some blisters and things like that.
My.
So I have a feeling that the students have to re-strategize. There could be a synergy, labor, students, and like they used to do it in the 1993 era during the June 12 things. Students and so many other groups came together. It shouldn't be students alone. If students go out now, the only thing students will do that will affect the public is they will disrupt the flow of traffic. So people cannot go to work and some services cannot be rendered. In that case, it will affect the poor man. And then government will feel it, because the day they cannot go to work, in the day they will be calculating their losses, not the pains of the people
so
who are
Doctor,
protesting.
we have had a series of strikes over time. What will make this one any different? What is different about this one? What is unique? What is special about this one that would actually make the government pay attention towards? And how do you think this strike can lead to a meaningful reform? You did mention of example of bad governance being bad policy and lack of good information. How would this bring about meaningful reforms, Mr. Christian, at this point?
The only thing that can make it bring about good reforms would be if we have a listening government.
So you're saying they're not listening?
They can't listen.
They can't listen.
They can't. From the mien of our president and the people that surround him, we have a government that is directing, controlling, and managing the National Assembly. If the president is just doing things, imagine they were protesting end bad governance in Nigeria. The Senate president was said, rumored to have been in a place. I also heard some of the voice I note, but you know this is a period when you cannot be too sure of what you have heard. But I think from every element of rumor, there is also an element of truth. If you say, let them kill themselves, let them keep on dying outside there, let us be eating in this place. If the Senate president was saying that, the president should summon the executive president. Come, what is happening? He's not doing that. But he's now saying, let them be dying. We'll be eating in this place. So if the government is not ready to listen, there is going to be a problem. Look at the excuse is given by Ngelari to have walked out of this government. Is that not a serious sign to every one of us? That's a sign that something is wrong. Somebody who should launder the image of the government is walking out. In Nigeria, being in government is a lucrative business. So if somebody can leave that business, however rich it could be, if the president who somebody says is almost as rich as the country, if he could still wanted to be the president, what about somebody who is an advisor? He too should be benefiting financially and some other wise. But he's working out. That means some things are wrong with his perception of the public image of this government. So that public image is my fear. If I want to fight somebody and I discover that that person is not thinking right, I will delay my fight. Because if you are fighting and you are beating somebody and that person is dying, you will reconsider, let me not beat this person. But in a situation where somebody wants the person is beaten to die, then going to fight that person at any point in time may not give you the desired result.
Now talking about putting NANS aside for a while, we're still going to go back to NANS for me now. Taking a look at price, petrol hike or change in petrol prices. I'm going to say this on national TV that, doing the show, has created a lot of knowledge for me, and I know too for Ezekiel, because when we have topics, we have to research the topics, and in the process of researching, you grow. I was shocked to realize that, like I said at my intro, that the history of Nigeria will not be complete without actually letting the world know that this situation that we find ourselves today, the foundation was laid decades back. We've had a fuel scarcity situation, and of course hike. I was surprised to notice that Gowon increased from 6 kobo to
8 naira
45 kobo. And not just Gowon, every other government, even the military, during the military, even after the military, we've had situations like that, from Obasanjo to Abacha to Babangida to Goodluck Jonathan to Buhari, and of course our present situation. It has become a stamp, in our history, is a stamp on the letter, and it just keeps going from generation to generation. I really want you to educate our viewers on the fact that this did not even start now.
I think I'm happy with what you have brought. Among the Yoruba, we have a saying that when you want to roof a house, you don't roof one and leave the other side. And that is what you call balancing the story. Fuel price increase is a recurrent issue. It has to be so. Understandably, it has to be so.
Why so?
The pricing of fuel depends on some other factors,
okay,
like global market price, economy, currency status, maybe inflation, deflation, and things like that. So the problem with that of Nigeria is this issue of over-dollarization of our local economy. The American dollar is the currency of Nigeria, whether we like it or not now. You can just imagine, Kyari was saying a few days ago that he didn't expect the Dangote oil to sell less than what is happening in the global market. When Dangote has been had been buying crude from the Nigerian market, which is in Naira, he's paying his workers. I think many of them will be paid in Naira, not in dollars. And he's going to sell to a Nigerian market in Naira. Then why are we using the foreign currency as our benchmark? Why not allow his exports to be valued at the dollar rate, while the local sales are valued in the Naira rate? So, but if you have to look at the increase that we had in fuel price from Gowon, you also discover that salaries have been increasing since the days of Gowon. The only problem is that the two of them are not proportionate. At any opportunity, they bring out the pump price. But they will wait for Nigerians to shout before they increase their wage. And the wage will not be commensurate to what they are taking from them. In terms of VAT is 7.5. It used to be 5%. And this morning they were just denying that they were not planning to make it 10%. But you can be sure the moment a government in Nigeria is denying something, they have perfected it. They are only using that denial to
prolong the reality,
becloud the people, and when they now introduce it, you want to say, and they didn't do it that time. So that is one thing. So the salaries have been increasing, the prices of fuel have been increasing. Just like I was looking at it, I said I was involved in the protests as a student in 1987, and the price then was 35 naira. They increased, Babangida increased to 35 naira. I was part of the people that protested. But when a few days ago, I was driving in Oyo State, and I saw an old filling station that had not removed their sales board, and I saw 86 naira 50 kobo.
You know what? We need to take a short break. We need to take a short break because that was below the belt. We need to take a short break to take tea and water. And when we return, our guest will be here to continue on this line of thoughts. Stay with us. Welcome back. It is still Daybreak Africa. Before the short break, our guest was actually telling us, taking us back, reminiscing about the good old days where fuel was 35 naira, and you were telling us you were traveling and you saw an old filling station that had 80 what?
86 naira 50 kobo.
Please continue.
The price attracted my attention because the next NNPC filling station that I go to that was dispensing fuel was selling 865 naira.
Wow.
I said 86 naira 50 kobo. And this time 865 naira from NNPC filling station. And now imagine for how long, what has been the difference. That 86 naira that we're talking about could have been around between Yadua and Goodluck Jonathan's regime. Can you just imagine that?
The difference is huge.
Huge.
Unimaginable.
Huge. And when we're talking about this bringing up and down, like we said the other time, when the global fuel price drops, we expect that the Nigerian government will bring theirs down. It has only been President Yadua that removed some naira, maybe 5 naira or so from the pump price without any prompting. Just woke up one day and said, we are not selling susu again, let's bring 5 naira out of this thing. And when they protested, when our present president protested against fuel price hike in the days of President Goodluck, that man dropped the price. The president dropped it, and everybody still complained that what he removed from it was minimal, and that was when he fixed it at 87 naira something. But you now imagine, I also saw a clip during the campaign of President Bola Ahmed Tinubu that people were shouting, that fuel will become 200 naira, that fuel will become 500 naira. That was what he said, though. You can imagine if he was saying that they have told me that fuel will become 200 naira, that fuel will become 500 naira, that F4 Kambale, Amagbewale, meaning will bring the price lower than, he was saying, they said it will become 200, that he will bring it down lower than 200. They said it will become 500, will bring it lower than 500. And the day he came there, he increased it to 500 naira. Everybody shouted, we threatened, we said he started throwing some granules, peanuts and things like that at workers, at market women and people like that. And incidentally now, more than double the 500 naira.
In Ondo right now, over the weekend, we bought for 1,200.
That's what
I bought fuel over the weekend for 1,200.
When I said I had to travel to Oyo town and I needed to fill the tank of a Sienna minibus, I think I spent over 70,000 naira.
For the trip?
Yes, for the trip.
Okay,
now we've been concerned as to how this strike is going to impact the government, how it's going to change the economy. But let's talk a bit about how this strike is going to impact students involved, how is it going to impact the parents, how is this strike going to impact our educational sector generally? How will
the entire country.
Thoughts.
I mentioned the case of the students because they are our focus on this discussion. And they look like a microcosm of the entire society. If you look at the students, for now, students travel a lot.
For different reasons.
Some have to travel every other week to get food. Many of these local students, when they are coming, the parents give them 2 measures of gari, 1 measure of rice, 1 measure of this and some little palm oil and things like that. After 2 or 3 weeks, they have to go back to the village. Some have to go back to assist their parents on the farm. So transportation is one of it. Now, when the fuel price had affected the way the universities will procure diesel or petrol to power their generators, because electricity is also neither here nor there. So they cannot eat, they can't cook, they can't feed well overall. That's another one. And what they purchase, like I said the other time, the prices of books and some other educational materials. You know, anytime you put something on top of fuel, you add so much on top of every other thing. Everything. So the food they buy in the market, the president said he was going to sell a bag of rice, 40,000 naira, 50 kg for every civil servant. How many of us are civil servants? Will he send to students at that rate? They're buying at 80, 90,000 now, depending on the brand of the rice. So I think the students are the most affected of all these policies that have decimated the livelihood of the average Nigerian. I think the students are the epicenter of its adverse effects.
You know, Doctor, let's talk as Nigerians, not just as guest and host and co-host. You are a Nigerian. Would you consider this strike unnecessary? Considering unnecessary. Considering the fact where you said yourself, the government can't listen. Anire said earlier, and I really concur with that, it's more like the same old, same old. We know we want change. We all want change at some point. But would you call this unnecessary? It won't change a thing. So don't even bother yourself and, you know, just save the strength you have left. It could be, you know, maybe ill-timed at some point. But I wouldn't want to say it's ill-timed because we're really going through a lot. So going through a lot is not just an ill-time. We're going through a lot on time, in time. So would you just say, students, this is really unnecessary? We understand your pain, we understand your plight, but even if you go out there, you will, you shout, bring the heavens down when the earth goes up, nothing is going to change. Would you consider that unnecessary?
To me, necessity, yes. But like I want to go into the Christian Bible. All things are lawful. It is their right. It is necessary when the things say that things are not going well to say no, to protest. But it is not everything that is expedient. The expediency of it is my fear. It may not be expedient to protest now.
At this time.
At this time. Why? Like in the next few weeks, my own students will start their exams. So many other students know that we don't have an omnibus school calendar any longer in Nigeria. Universities determine their calendar. Some will be writing the exams, some will be. So if you are protesting in Ibadan and Lagos and Abuja is safe, then the effect will not be that serious on the government. But if Nigerian students can come together as one and say no, then I would say it will be expedient. But what is the essence of scratching a dead horse? You cannot, these governments don't have any feeling for us. That's the way I see it. And when you are fighting against someone who does not have the feeling, what do you want to achieve? So it is one thing to be necessary. It is one thing for it to be important, but it's another thing for it to be useful. I'm looking at the end of it. So when the ranks of the students are broken already, they may not have a common front to fight with. So if, for instance, you can say there is no zone, there is no fashion, all of us will want to come. No lecturer will come to work if their students are protesting. Nobody will drive along the highways if Nigerian students are protesting. They have the strategies for protesting. Not labor leaders who, some of them will be thinking of their salaries, they will be thinking of some investment they just started, they don't want it to be destroyed. Students, when they go out, that is it. And even when you are killing students, some of them will still be fighting on. The one I said I participated in, I begged my colleagues, don't let us go into this strike because I wanted to write my final NCA exams. By the time they started, I said I wanted to go and see what was happening. Before I knew what was happening, I was in the forefront.
Shouting Aluta.
We no go agree. But in some cases,
Oh my.
in some cases, the policemen will provoke the students into violence. I've seen it. This last one that happened in Abuja, a policeman fired at protesters and killed his police colleague. And the moment they see blood, they will think it was the protesters that did that. So some of these things, wanton killing and all those things, they too, it's not as if they are eating well, it's not as if they are feeling fine, no. But they are also on the edge. The security people too, they are on the edge. You can see about 200 retired for poor whatever in the Northwest a few days ago. So those ones who are retiring, if students throw a stone or anything at them, they will fire. So for me, I want to say it may be necessary for them to protest. But one, the planning is too short and the ranks are scattered. So they cannot fight now. They are not at the best of their energy.
Sorry, Anire. At this point, the clamoring is heightened. The pain is just way overboard. Is it advisable for the government at this point to tread really carefully? Because you would agree with me, Anire, something as this occurred last month in Bangladesh. Today is a whole new story. The student came out, just students came out. What they clamored for was the job quota system. It started with that. Give us good opportunity. We want equal opportunity.
Equal opportunity.
It seems valid. It's normal.
Equity.
Of course, they went for that. The parliament sat down, gave it to them. And then one thing led to another and another, to the point where the prime minister had to leave her presidential villa, left her palace, ran to the neighboring country, India. I saw the video where the minister of defense also and the other comrade were hung upside down, dead on the bridge. It started with these issues as this. I'm not wishing Nigeria get to this point at all. I really don't wish that for my country. But with the way things are going, every day we tend to complain for one thing, bad governance. We tend to complain for unemployment. Literally everything. Now fuel. I mean, the market women can't even access the markets themselves because, I mean, 1,200 per liter of fuel in Nigeria.
Nigerians are trekking.
In Nigeria. Once upon a time, I got fuel for 65 naira, 55 naira. Once upon a time. But at this point, we have buying fuel for 1,200 naira. Don't you think it would be really wise for the government at this point
to act,
to really tread carefully, not just act, tread carefully, and if they must act, not act irrationally? Because I don't know for a fact, but I really don't want to say, I really don't want to be a prophet of doom right now, but it's more like we're heading towards that direction gradually.
Thank you.
And I really hope not.
Ezekiel, I think you have spoken the mind of patriotic Nigerians, the people who are truly democratic. I have witnessed so many governments in Nigeria within this short while I was born. And I've come to realize that this other option is a no option. But that is what most Nigerians are used to. And that is the one where they will just talk to one person and he will do good things. But for us in academics, people in law, journalists, and some elites, they know that the best governance, the best government for Nigeria is still the democratic government. At least you can say what you like, you can talk, you can do all those things. The present government should be very careful. During this End Bad Governance in Abuja, I learned a group went to the Sani Abacha barracks and they were clamoring for military to come and assist them. That is a bad trend. If this democracy, if anything happens to this democracy, God have mercy, Nigerians will troop out and celebrate. Who will lose? The barrack boys will come, increase salaries, do the bad things that didn't remove subsidy, I mean, in place subsidy and all those things, Nigerians will be shouting and dancing. It is those of us who know that the end may not be as palatable as the beginning. That will prefer what we now have. But for the average Nigerian, what they will eat today is the ultimate. So the government has to be very careful. Now they are running after a Briton. They are running after some Nigerians that they were calling for coup. They gave them the flag of, was it Russia or Ukraine or wherever in the northwest. And people were celebrating, and you know what it means? It's like they are calling for a revolution. And if they need to call for a revolution, they may not go onto the roads to call for revolution. They will target individuals, houses, and things like that. We are all together within these places. The bulletproof can only work when you are on the road and the gun is shot. When it is hunger that is fighting, your bulletproof will not help. Your barricades and all those big fences you have made will not help, because we know one another. So I want to take that your word. That is my message to this government. They have to be very careful. They are the ones carrying a crate of egg on their head. They should be mindful of how they hold on to it. The governance of Nigeria is more than that. And now a region is crying foul, seriously, because that's where we have the biggest number of hungry and those who deal with what they eat on daily basis. In the east, in the south, in the west, some people can still plan for tomorrow and things like that. There are millions of human beings who don't have any investment, and they don't care if Nigeria is burning today. Anywhere they get to, they will scramble for food and eat, and they will continue. So the government has to be very careful, now, not waiting for NANS or any other thing.
I have goosebumps just listening to you. What I'm about to say is something that happened for real. I was in school with my younger brother, Ekboma, and we used to call him the old soul. So one day we were just eating, and he asked me, I want to ask you a question. Who do you think is the most dangerous person? I said, you've come again. Look, I'm tired. I've been reading. I want to rest. You've come again with your philosophy. I don't know. No, sir, just think about it. I said, I don't know. Someone with a gun? He said, no. Someone with acid for my body? He said, no. Someone with a car chasing me? He said, no. I said, okay. Who is the most dangerous person? He looked at me in the eyes and said, someone who has nothing to lose.
To lose nothing.
Someone who has nothing to lose is the most dangerous person, and that's exactly what you just said. One would expect that the federal government of Nigeria will learn from the end bad governance situation and begin to tackle, not just in words, but in action. Nigerian students given a date again for a protest. One would expect that we've learned our lesson and we tackle it. You mentioned the region. That's why I'm saying this. You just rightly said, there are people who have nothing to lose. They don't care if the country burns. To actually get whatever they're saying across. One would expect, because it started peacefully, and before we knew what was happening, it was hijacked. And like you said, you're chasing this, you're chasing that. They will not even get those people they're looking for. So the most dangerous person is one who has nothing to lose. With that statement to the federal government, what should be the next plan? What should be the next action? We need to overflog this. We need to say it until we get the message. As we begin to round up, what should be the plan? What should be the blueprint for the future going forward? I really want your take on this, because we've seen the history and we don't see things changing, but we hope things will change, and it will take humans, it will take you and I to change. Like you rightly said, the people voted. Nobody can get into power by themselves without the people voting. How do we open the eyes of those in power that the people are the power? The people have the voice. They have what it takes for them to listen. So the future that we desire comes to us and not one that we do not plan?
Now, I saw a situation few months after President Tinubu removed the subsidy. He went to Lagos, I think, for Christmas. And he was driving through the streets of Lagos. Lagosians were shouting, "Oli, Oli." I still have the clip. That is the place that provided the foundation and the structure for him becoming the president of Nigeria. What he should do now is to go back to the city of Lagos. When he protested against Jonathan, there was no military man, no policeman behind him. He was surrounded by the people. He was addressing somebody who was holding a microphone for him and things like that. He should go back to the city of Lagos, fill the purse of Lagosians, and readdress all his financial policies. Multiple taxation, he should drop all those ones. All these fiscal policies where the dollar will start jumping. There was a time I went to America and I was coming back. I got to when I was going, I got to the airport and I was changing my currency and it was 134 naira to $1. And when I was coming back, I wanted to sell. They were going to buy less. I said, "But I bought from you when I was going to say, yes, sir, that is buying. This is selling," and things like that. But now 1,000 plus. Even the poor man's child cannot travel to anywhere again. He should change all those ones. This subsidy, whether he's reinventing it, whether he's making it, whichever way he wants to look at it, this idea of fuel must be brought. Nigerians must be able to buy fuel at affordable prices in Nigeria. That is one link to the gloom or to the doom of this Nigeria as we know it today. Everything centers around fuel. So the fuel thing must go down. Then there are some people, not only Kyari, there are some other bad people in his government. Whether they are working for him or they are working against him, he may not know. He should look inwards. This is not the time of political patronage or partisan patronage. He should look at people who actually love Nigerians. Some people are working for Tinubu to fall so that they can come and eat from his fall. So he should look inwards, re-strategize. He cannot govern Nigeria the way he governed Lagos. Even Lagosians are the ones crying more now. So he should do things that will make people love him the way they used to love him. I've been in places where he was commissioning buildings and he was taking keys and giving to strangers he never knew. He was doing things. I've been in a place where he gave cash. The last time he came to Ondo here, there was time he gave cash to a student that he never met. But now that he's ruling and everybody is crying, he should look inwards. The mother should also advise him, the wife should bring him inside and tell him what Nigerians are feeling. Maybe he doesn't know. Sincerely, Nigerians are suffering and it's bad.
We want to thank you so much for being our guest on Daybreak Africa today. We do hope you will honor our invite again from your busy schedule. It took almost an hour to get you here because I understand what is going on in that institution. There's a lot going on. In fact, I called one guest and he said, "Anire, are you crazy? Did they not tell you what we were going through? Don't call me again till October, end of October." There's a lot going. So I really know the sacrifice that you made to be here this morning, and we appreciate you.
This is my pleasure.
So Nigerians are suffering. My people are suffering. I feel the pulse of the people. I had a call very early this morning, a family member asking for money. Yes, we those of us who are blessed to some extent should help those that are not up to. But these were people I could help some years ago. But unfortunately, I can't do that anymore, and I try to explain. So I stopped posting pictures on social media a long time ago. I stopped posting anything that is the real me on social media, because when family members see those, sometimes old photos, because I'm trying to be happy, trying to catch up with the happiness of the past, but they don't understand. And the phone calls will begin to come. So I don't post pictures, I don't post my happy moments, because the Annie who used to give them, the Annie don't go. Me, myself, and I now.
Well, I know you
It's
to
the
be
way
a
it
giver. I
is.
really know you to be a giver. So if you ever get to a point where you feel hesitant to really give, then it really has to be something. Because I have always known, and I'm saying this on air not because she's here, but because I know her as a person, she's truly a giver. So at any point, you fail to give, I will understand. I really urge people to really understand.
If they are watching today, that's where we are at right now, and that's mini-me. So you can imagine on a larger level what homes, families are going through,
Could only imagine
what Nigerians are going through. So we need to get the message to the government. We need to get the message to those we elected to serve, not to lead, not to steal, not to kill, not to suppress, not to muffle, but to listen and create peace for the citizens, Ezekiel. That's the way I feel this morning.
it's very emotional. I could see it in your eyes. You're really emotional. Well, I guess we actually have to end it at this point before you go into tears, because you're very emotional. I know you to be very emotional.
It's a sad
viewers,
situation.
you do have a great day ahead. Of course, see you tomorrow morning, same time, same station. I remain Ezekiel Ogar.
I am Anire Binitie. Thanks for watching. Bye for now.
Yes, there is news on your device, but hearing an analyst's perspective is the icing on the cake that Daybreak Africa provides. Break. Start your day with prompt analysis of the latest news, trends,
Exactly, and then you see these people, they're so agile, they can do a lot of
politics,
We have to go back to that regional system. That is the foundation of this country, for God's sake.
entertainment, fashion, culinary skills,
So first I'm going to be pouring the oil inside the pot and I will...
religious and cultural events, amongst others, on Daybreak Africa.
For a rich mix of analysis on current issues, tune in daily from 7 a.m. to 9 a.m. on channel 480 and 124 on Startimes.